Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name's GBay99. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today I am back with another episode of Completing League of Legends, where I just got rank 5 mastery on Camille. This is the game that I did it in. It was a game that was relatively boring and tame. Not a lot went on throughout it. I did have a couple of moments where I got kills, a couple of moments where I died a few times. Final score was 4-4-2, and it was only a normal game, so it wasn't that exciting. I had to record this in normals because I knew that this was going to be a very difficult video to make. For any of you who haven't been playing League of Legends and don't know this already, a lot of people think that Camille is very overpowered, and she's almost always banned in ranked because of it. There wasn't much chance I was going to be able to record this in ranked unless I got very lucky. So I was recording in normals some last night to try and get this video recorded, get this video done, and get my rank 5 mastery on Camille, where this final game, as I said, was a little bit boring and lackluster, but the previous game was a lot more interesting and exciting in seeing how things turned out. It's a game that shows a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses of this new champion that a lot of people don't seem to realize, so I thought today might be a fun opportunity to give you guys some analysis on what my opinions are on what's probably my new favorite League of Legends champion. So let's go ahead and get right into this. The game starts off in a very GBay99 way, where I end up getting ganked top lane by Lee Sin, and instead of just trying to run away, I don't think there's much chance I'm going to be able to get away, and I go for a tower dive on this gangplank that is very poorly executed and ends up giving him an early kill. Now, this is a pretty bad way to start a lane, giving your first blood to your opponent, which isn't, your lane opponent that you're going to have to deal with. However, Camille is a very strong laner. When I get back to lane, I get not 1, not 2, but 3 consecutive kills on gangplank before recalling and buying any items. All of this just with a longsword and a Doran's blade. If any of you are wondering, this is why people say Camille is overpowered. Camille is a very interesting champion where she puts out a lot of damage and a lot of harass, where her damage power spikes are very quick in lane and they work very naturally. Let me explain what I mean by that. So when you have a champion that's trying to put out damage and put out harass in a laning phase, then generally you want to put out the maximum amount of damage that you can in the least amount of time. So for instance, on Aurelia, this would be however long your W lasts. You want to get as many auto attacks as you possibly can when your W's up, but as soon as your W goes down, if you aren't close to killing your opponent, you want to back off because you have a huge damage drop off. On a champion like Aurelia, generally that means the longer you can auto attack someone until your W goes down, the more efficient it is for you to continue auto attacking and trying to kill your opponent. However, on other champions, their damage power spikes work differently, and a lot of them work very quickly, like a Gangplank who just throws out a Q, maybe hoping it crits, and that's his harass or damage just in that single ability, or maybe a Jax who just tries to get the third auto attack for his passive on his ultimate off. And Camille works in a similar way, however, dealing a lot more damage than those other champions. So Camille's Q that has 2 auto attack resets essentially, if you can get both activations of your Q on an opponent, then generally speaking, you are going to outdamage them in any trade as long as you do, and you can just back off after you get that second Q off. If you're close to killing, you can of course keep on chasing and trying to get the kill, but generally speaking, you won't be that close to killing unless your opponent has already given you a few kills and you're a couple items ahead. This generally means that when you're playing top lane against a tank or someone that has weak laning like Gangplank, you are able to get a lot of free harass out, and if your opponent isn't smart by realizing when you can kill them and how to prevent this auto attack harass and letting you get both of your Qs off on them, then you're going to have a lot of kill potential. There are still champions that can beat you. I mean, Aurelia can beat Camille in a 1 versus 1 if she continues a trade past Camille's Q. If she doesn't let Camille reactivate her Q on her and she continues auto attacking with her W, Aurelia will deal quite a lot of damage and out damage Camille in an extended trade, but not everybody realizes this, and not everybody realizes this is how this trading system works. In summary, with all the weak laners like Gangplank that you see top lane, and with all the tanks that have no chance of throwing out this kind of harass back, Camille has free reign of a laning phase where if she lands her stun or if she lands both Qs and gets a lot of harass out, she will almost always outdamage opponents and set up for a lot of free and easy kills. This is what I do consistently throughout this laning phase against Gangplank over and over, racking up kill after kill on him and getting a pretty massive gold lead. However, my teammates teammates don't do quite as well as me. Now, this is only a normal game, so I'm not going to get too upset or frustrated at what seems like an impending loss because nobody else on my team goes positive in the early game. However, my teammates don't have the best attitudes about their frustrating lanes. This Caitlyn in particular AFK'd for somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes out of frustration that she had a Galio support or something that she was blaming everything on. So this was a very frustrating game for me where I was trying to do my best to carry, but I didn't quite know how to deal with this team, and eventually I let the frustration get to me. I continued my split push for as long as I possibly could, it seemed, until the enemy team started sending multiple fed people to come top lane and deal with me, at which point I started dying a couple times, and with the enemy team pressing so many objectives on other areas of the map, and with me not seeming like I was going to be able to get anything else by split pushing, I eventually had to start grouping and looking to team fight. Against an organized team, Camille has potentially the worst team fight out of any of the hybrids you see top lane in League of Legends. If you think about Aurelia in a team fight, she has a little assassination potential, she can escape CC with her passive, she has a lot of tankiness and a lot of heals to help her survive in a team fight. If you think about Fiora, she has her ultimate, that's an AoE heal, big utility for her team if she gets it off, and she has her W to survive a lot of damage, abilities, and CC, which she can ricochet back off on her opponents. Even if you think about Jax, his ultimate gives him quite a lot of armor and magic resistance that he can use to survive in a fight and go just dive onto an enemy carry, throwing out his damage. Camille doesn't have any of that. She has some movement with her E, but typically she's using that to engage, not to escape, and depending on when you level it, you might not have the cooldown to escape after a team starts focusing you, and she doesn't really have any defensive abilities. She has no escape, again, outside of her E. She has no armor or magic resistance or like any big heals or anything to help her in a team fight. Her ultimate knocking targets away from the target that she ults is potentially the only thing that can help her survive in a team fight because it displaces opponents, and then even that's something that your enemy team is going to focus you for. That just makes you a big target, and the enemy team, if they're organized and if you're doing well already, they'll know to focus you, and you don't really have a lot of good team fight potential. All of this started really hurting our team. I believe around this time I was the only one positive on the team. I was being focused really hard. The enemy kept on killing me over and over and over, and I was already on tilt a little bit since we had an AFK for part of the game, so I started thinking this game was over and eventually tried to surrender. But we didn't end up surrendering. Our Diana, in particular, shout out to this Diana, she refused to give up and say that we had no chance of winning, even if everyone else on the team seemingly had. I don't know who else was saying no, but props to them as well. So eventually I started a non-stop split push, mostly out of frustration, but I just started split pushing top lane to see if I could take objectives, and I did take quite a few objectives. I took a number of towers and got some global gold for our team, but this isn't what really ended up winning us this game. What ended up winning us the match was a split push I did where I went bot lane and the enemy only sent Gangplank to go and deal with me. Now, I had already 1v1 this Gangplank all throughout this game. Camille is great at 1v1s. She's like a Zed or Aurelia who can just almost 1v1 anyone with it when they're ahead, and Gangplank isn't exactly a target that can deal with me, so I just go and take free towers, eventually go and see if I can look for an engage to kill Gangplank 1 versus 1, and as I do, I eventually end up putting a lot of threat on taking this bot inhib turret, maybe the bot inhib, and the enemy has to send the Ezreal to come and deal with me. Now, the Ezreal does end up playing this really well. He ends up killing me and just playing this skirmish perfectly. There was maybe a chance I could 1v1 him, but he ends up doing everything right. However, this takes two opponents out of commission, the Gangplank I just killed, and the Ezreal, who is now bot lane without a teleport or anything. So our team is able to go and take a free Baron. The enemy responds with trying to take an Elder Drake. However, the Gangplank goes top lane trying to farm, and I think he has teleport, and his ultimate is coming back up. I'm respawning with my own teleport, and this gives our team a 4v4 in the bot area around Elder Drake, and they're able to catch out Anivia and kill her 1 versus 1. Now, I teleport in as the Elder Drake is around half health, and if you look at this ensuing teamfight, you see it's essentially a bunch of 1v1s, a bunch of little fights where I am able to just use my champion's strengths to get all this damage out and eventually kill everyone barely living from the Ezreal trying to kill me, and we're able to push and win the game off of that. I think this game does a very good job of showing what Camille does well and what she does poorly. League of Legends hasn't really seen a champion like this in a while. For the most most part, the meta has taken a huge shift towards not running fun champions top lane, just running a bunch of tanks, a bunch of poppies, unkillable monsters that you just go top lane with, and you know, maybe you can get a kill 1 versus 1 on the enemy tank depending on who picked what tank, but at the end of the day, you aren't really looking for that. You aren't looking to be a lane bully, you're just looking to be a tank that TPs into fights. Camille is really none of that. She's a true duelist in every sense of the word, and she's a fantastically fun champion for people like me that like playing the Aurelias, Fioras, and Jaxes of the top lane. She's just, oh my god, she's so fun. I could talk about her for days. She has quite a lot in her kit, and with the damage levels she has now, she might be slightly overpowered, I'm not gonna lie here, but she is a really, really well-designed champion, I think, at the same time. Even if she has a little bit too much in her kit with the extra movement speed on her Q, that might be just taking it over the top, or something else, she is still so fun and just feels like an absolute joy to play every time you pick her. Whether it's Riot giving her a couple of new nerfs, or whether it's the community learning how to play against her, I really hope something happens in the near future so that I can start playing what is probably my new favorite champion in all of League of Legends. Anyway though, I hope you guys all enjoyed watching today's video. I will of course see you all tomorrow, but until then, thank you very much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.